Mr. Barrero, Garzi, in all due respect, I get it. No, the Vikes aren't that good. No one expects them to be this good. But let's enjoy the ride. They're not going to win it all. The NFC North is good. Got the best receiver in the league. Sam Darnold was trash, and now he's good. Good coach, good GM. Let's enjoy it. Let's not wait till the end and be disappointed. Let's enjoy the ride.
Who said enjoy the season originally? Was it Mason or Tice?
Tice.
That was Mike Tice. Yeah. Well, there's something to be said for that philosophy. Human nature being what it is, whether it's fair or not, expectations change. As your record gets better, I just don't think it's realistic for people to be quite as philosophical as he is. This was less of a nail biter than the week before, but I have, as I said, I'm usually the guy who's ripping the officiating alibi. And I'll say again, I don't think that the officials cost the Titans the game. I do think when there are the number of, you can't get any bigger of a call than in the end zone giving a touchdown. The number of them that took place in this game that the Vikings all got, that you can't come away and say, well, that was part of what maybe takes away a little bit from feeling all that comfortable about this club. Bradshaw and Brian KFAN text line is open at 64686. And even, it's weird. We talked about this with Bynum. It's hard to argue with giving up 13. But obviously, when you give up a 97-yard play, a pretty bad breakdown there, you go, well, that's not supposed to happen if this defense is as good as expected. So it's kind of a mixed bag. And maybe it'll help to get back in within the division. The Bears are not a great team, but they played a little bit. They were in position to beat Green Bay.
In position to beat Washington.
That's true, too.
They're 2 plays from 6-4.
Well, that's it. They as weird a season as they've had, and you're literally talking about, in both cases, the last 2 plays of the game.
Right.
So it's not like, 10 other things had to happen, and the other team is going to get the ball back. And maybe you get a little better idea. Look, here's, for me, and again, this is probably not entirely fair, but if you've got, even within the time that a particular coach has been coaching, there's, what was the analogy to the Pittsburgh Steelers coach who was offered earlier?
Mike Tomlin?
Mike Tomlin has playoff success equity. Okay. Now, they've slid some from their heyday, but they're having a very good season this year, where, I might have more confidence built in to say, well, this coaching staff postseason, well, the record speaks for itself. We don't have that. Now, he hasn't been here long, but we don't have that.
He has the best winning percentage of his coaching class.
Regular season?
Yeah, which includes Dolphins guy, right, and a couple of other people. You wouldn't think that, but he does. So, when we played the Giants in the playoffs, was that under? It was.
Yeah. So, the timing's good there because the Giants have made finally the big pronouncement. Oof. It's supposed to change everything in New York. Daniel Jones is being benched, and not only benched, he's third string now. They're done with him. They're basically, they're saying,
we give up.
Yeah, go. We don't want anything bad to happen to you, but if you want to hang around the subway, go ahead. We don't care. We're done with you completely. Well, that's our only. You could say it's unfair to go back to that because this is a different season, it's a different team, but that's our only playoff, equity that we have, and it was a disaster. You could argue, in all honesty, that Daniel Jones owes this franchise some money.
He does.
Because he looked good enough in that playoff game for them to say, we know he's got some issues, but we think we can build around that.
Specifically, he owes Ed Donatel money.
Well, that could be. That's true, too.
Because Ed Donatel was the fall guy pretty quickly after that.
Yeah, but we did it to, 20 years earlier to Kerry Collins, too. Kerry Collins' best game as a pro.
It's crazy.
Was against us as a member of the New York Giants.
It doesn't feel right.
It doesn't feel right. So I guess part of it for me is, all right, let's see. You're asking me to say, yeah, let's go play when the coach has no playoff victories and the quarterback is been a good story, but has had absolutely zero playoff success. Now, that doesn't mean there can't be some. All you can do now is play the regular season. But for me, that all enters into I go, okay, yeah, cute club, above average for sure. I don't know if we're as good as our record at 8-2. I'm not sure. I believe when I think 8-2, I think a little bit more dominant. Now, again, maybe 8-2 is not what it used to be. You look at the other teams other than the Lions. The Lions are clearly the class of the conference. Doesn't mean they're going to win it, but they are the class of the conference. They're proving that week after week. I mean, they took apart a Jacksonville team we had all kinds of difficulty scoring against. Now, they were at home, but they had no difficulty. What is it? 7 possessions, 7 touchdowns?
Their point differential is 159 to the good for the season. Want to guess the next closest in the NFC?
No clue. Eagles.
Oh,
you might mean the number.
But the number is basically
probably
half.
12.
It's 80.
80, okay.
The Vikings are 74.
Okay.
But they're essentially doubling the point differential of second place. Because they are trying to prove it. Now, they struggled, was it with the Texans 2 weeks ago? They had to come back and beat the Texans, right? The Lions.
Yes, that's true.
They were on the grind.
Yeah, that was a 5-turnover game.
Yes.
For Goff. 5-interception game.
But they found a way to win that one. And now, but every other week, it seems like they are just trying to, like Dan Campbell said in his opening news conference, bite your kneecaps.
I do want to, I made the announcement early that I'm off the food coffee drinks. I'm on Canada Dry Ginger Ale.
Are you done with the mini can?
I'm still trying to nurse it, and it's a small one. I'm trying not to take too big of gulps, but I'm not going to lie. There's a good chance I'll belch on the air before this thing is done because this is a good gas remover.
Remover or inciter?
No, for me, it incites belching.
Okay.
Cutting the pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I do belch on the air, I apologize.
We've got a cough button.
Okay.
It can be used for multiple purposes.
A couple texts have come in. This one, where did it go? I just had it. Daniel Jones. Hold on. That wasn't the one I wanted. Oh, here. There's a lot of PSTs today on the Bumper to Bumper program. The Chiefs haven't been impressive all year, but that's the narrative with them.
We can't go with the Chiefs. We can't use the Chiefs as the example.
You can't use Mike Tomlin, and you can't use the Kansas City Chiefs. Stop it. Think about what you're saying. They're the Kansas City Chiefs. In fact, I was so bamboozled and hypnotized, I thought they were going to beat Buffalo. In fact, I thought they were going to.
Yeah.
My theory was they have not played well, and yet they're 9-0. They're not due to lose. They're due to play a more Kansas City-like game. And for a while, they were on track for that. But then to Buffalo's credit, Buffalo took it from them.
Yeah.
And made sure that they got the ball back. It was going to be needing 2 scores with a minute to go rather than 1, which is, of course, all that Mahomes lives for. But come on, man. What world do we live in when you're trying to compare the Vikings and their head coach to Mike Tomlin and the Kansas City Chiefs as a team? Just stop it.
Did you see the Tomlin thing about Lamar Jackson within the last couple of weeks?
No.
Because somebody, I think, tried to compare, I don't know if it was Fields or Wilson or somebody, to Lamar Jackson, and Tomlin was having none of it. Basically, to talk about comparing the Vikings to Tomlin basically said, well, that's a guy that's won a couple of MVPs now. He said, that's Mr. Jackson.
Yeah, I did hear that, actually.
Such good Tomlin. That's Mr. Jackson.
Mr. Jackson.
So we're going to be careful comparing any of our guys with him. Love our guys, but that's Mr. Jackson over there. To the emailers, I would say that's Mr. Mahomes and that's Mr. Tomlin that we're talking about there. So let's chill a little bit.
That's probably the best way to look at it. Are we putting a grant in anybody's hand today?
No, we are not. That ended last week.
Oh, ended last week. Okay.
More to come later.
Okay. I'm sure it'll come back. It always does. I got some other NFL stuff I want to squeeze in the next segment or two, but plenty more Vikings, several more Vikings talking points and lots of good material via the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line at 646-8.
2.7 left, tied at 117. The inbound, Joe gets it into Julius Randle. He'll take 2 dribbles. He'll shove off on Okogie. He'll fire at the buzzer and hit it. They're going to count the bucket. Okogie went down trying to draw the foul. Julius Randle, welcome to the Wolves. Welcome to the Wolves. He wins it at the buzzer. 120 to 117. The Wolves with their biggest comeback of the season, rallying from 16 down. A couple of dribbles. He used the off arm to fend off Okogie, who went flying backwards. The Suns will claim that this will be a foul, but they're not reviewing that. They're just checking to make sure he got it off in time. A 13-3 Timberwolves run over the final 2:47.
On the floor is confirmed. Successful three-point basket.
Yeah, baby!
Alan Horton via the Timberwolves channel, part of the iHeart KFAN, of course, radio empire last night. A very, I would call it one of those fibery, nourishing victories, all things considered, against an admittedly depleted Phoenix Suns team, 2 of their big 3 out. But given how dead and buried the Wolves were, a very impressive finish for sure. And again, I can't wait to hear from more of the whiny Minnesota fans who say we never get the calls, because
Guardsy,
even though the 2-minute report does not suggest Randle committed an offensive foul on your guy Okogie, it does say that Randle should have been called for traveling by lifting his pivot foot prior to releasing his dribble. Now, in real time, I can't see it. Maybe if it got slowed down, you could. I, to be honest, was not all that offended that offensive foul was not called. I think there was some contact, but I also think that was Okogie probably doing the wrong thing there.
Yes.
Trying to sell the call.
I don't like that being rewarded.
Exactly. And I don't think it was egregious enough that he's going to get it anyway. Maybe he's just playing the odds there, whatever. But that ended up being the difference in a ball game that I think we were ahead for 9 seconds.
I think it was 15, legitimately.
15 seconds?
Yeah. Coincidentally, Brianna Stewart just tweeted she saw no travel with Julius Randle. Thought it was good fundamental basketball.
None whatsoever?
Yeah, no issues with... He did kind of swing through. It is hard to see, especially on the social media videos.
Yes.
On the small screens over here. Awful small. But I could see that. I could see where he might have had his foot up there, and they missed it. Yeah,
well, in any case, that's a moot point because they get the victory. So they've now followed up the 3-game losing streak with a red-hot 2-game winning streak. And as I said, in a game where I felt like they were getting outplayed, outworked, outsmarted, the whole bit for way too long, they mustered up a very nice comeback late. Was it 13-3 down the stretch, if I'm not mistaken?
I think that's what it was, yeah.
And to that point, it is also worth noting, well, there were 2 nuggets that Horton had that got my attention beyond the play and the call itself. That's the Wolves' second game this year when trailing by 10-plus points in the fourth quarter. Finchie has now engineered 10 such comebacks in his 4-plus seasons. In the Wolves' prior 9-plus seasons, they had 10 wins total in the situation that they've been in, down by 10 or more in the fourth quarter. So that's the mark of what? A better team, right? And maybe a better coach team as well. The other nugget that he had that got my attention, the buzzer beater, that was the first Wolves buzzer beater in more than 5 seasons.
Yeah.
Do you see that?
Yes.
And just the 7th in their last 18 seasons and 18th in franchise history. So here's, I think, the most recent 7. Starting with Randle yesterday afternoon. 2019, Towns against Memphis. I don't really remember that one. Do you?
I don't.
Wiggins at OKC in 2017. Wiggins at Phoenix in 2017. Wig did it twice.
I definitely don't remember either of those.
7 years ago. And how about Luke Ridnour? Remember Luke?
Luke Ridnour, yeah.
He apparently did it against Utah in 2012. And the other two, K-Love at Clippers in 2012, and Wilkins. What Wilkins would that have been?
Wilkins?
Wilkins. I don't even remember Wilkins.
What year was that?
2009.
Well, that's a Meerkat special.
Versus New Jersey.
I have no idea who Wilkins is.
I really don't either.
None.
I have no idea. Somebody tell us. There'll be some Wolves historian. Maybe Munich can tell us. I don't remember.
I don't think Munich remembers.
Dominique Wilkins didn't play here, did he?
I don't think so. Although we did get aging veterans in that era, like Andre Kirilenko, Rudy Gay.
What were the other? There were some other Wilkins.
Didn't he have a brother play?
Honestly, I am drawing a complete blank about that one. But it is interesting to see that's the first buzzer beater in more than 5 years. So Ant doesn't have one yet.
Not a buzzer beater.
And supposedly that last play, it was supposed to go to Edwards, but it looked like Aussie guy was having some difficulty getting the ball in. And so he basically had to wait for a late cutter, and it was Randle. So then it said, you got to get the ball in, right? And that's where the ball ended up in Randle's hands, and it worked out. Randle had huge scoring numbers. I think the leading scorer for the club in the fourth quarter was actually Naz Reid, and then that's another one of those interesting things where he gets pulled. I think with like 6 minutes to go, and was not very happy about it. You could tell. That constant challenge of what's the right combination, who do we put out there? We do expect the return on the show of Mike Conley this week. The timing's good because we're seeing a Conley resurgence, right? We're seeing in stretches the things that make Conley so valuable to this team. Now, last night, his box score numbers were not much, but his plus minus was good, very good, and he had a couple of those sneaky guys beating you from behind, and he knocks the ball away right towards the basket, which is helpful. But there have been some stretches in the previous game, especially the game where we almost blew the 20-point lead. Oh, we did blow the 20-point lead, but then we won an OT. Was that at Sacramento?
Yes.
Damian Wilkins, I'm told.
Yes.
Damian Wilkins. I have no recollection. I mean, well, again, that's the dead period where why would we recollect anything?
I've never seen this man before. He's the son. Well, we mentioned it's the Wilkins family. He's the son of Gerald,
right,
and the
Gerald
nephew
Wilkins.
of Dominique.
Yeah, Dominique, that's right.
So we were spinning around it. We were in the Wilkins family. We should have known. Alan Horton texted me. I looked up his picture. I've never seen this man before, Damian Wilkins.
I think I may have
played
seen
in the
him,
league
but
forever.
I don't remember very much about him. Somebody said one of the Wiggins was Ryan Saunders' first game.
Well, I remember he blew up in Ryan's first game.
Yeah.
I don't remember if that was, I didn't know if it was the game winner, but he had like 40 something in Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
Ryan Saunders' first game.
Well,
I do remember that.
Bottom line is it's a good nourishing fiber win when you can find a way. We're going to think this, and by the way, DiVincenzo found his 3-point stroke in the second quarter. I think he hit 4. And you knew, you kind of knew that was coming. I'm more concerned on him just do the other parts of his game coming along too on a more consistent basis. Because I mean, shooting, he didn't suddenly stop knowing how to shoot. Right, he's a streaky shooter, and maybe we're going to have to accept a little bit of that. But it's the other parts of the game that I think are so important. And we're back to again what combinations of players you want to use. But Conley, we are reminded, we have on this team one pure point guard. He's it, right? And that's where I think there's got to be a place to get him back to where he was, and he's showing some signs of that. Doesn't mean he has to play at the end of every game, I don't think. Doesn't mean that his minutes can't be lessened from time to time when other people are providing other things. But he still brings a certain measure of structure to what they do. And I think he has a good knowledge of the other players around him. I mean, Rudy continues to rip himself. Rudy keeps saying, I'm not doing this. I'm not being consistent enough. And the other thing that kind of keeps coming through, though, and maybe we'll talk to Johnny about this at 5:30, is that when, none of the Wolves' defensive numbers are as good as a year ago, but the numbers when Rudy is off the floor
Yeah.
Especially going to the basket.
At the rim.
Awful. And we're back to, I don't know, I mean, we really don't have, in that sense, a backup rim protector, right?
No.
We really don't. There's not
And
anybody,
other teams know it.
And other times, no, and other teams tend to have, they have some young wild guy that they can just kind of throw in there who would just say, don't worry about anything else, wild guy. Just block shots, get in the way around the basket, right? We really don't have anybody else who does that. I mean, Jaden McDaniels is on the perimeter. I mean, he's guarding a lot of wing players, right?
Yep.
It ain't Luka Garza. We know that, although he's not been given much of a chance. It's really not Naz Reid. Now, should it be Naz Reid? Can you argue? I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you're going to get that much defensively out of him. I would just want decent defensive work out of him. I don't know that you're ever going to get a lockdown defender there and a great shot blocker. But we really don't have, when Rudy's out, there really is no one else who even comes close, and you can tell other teams have figured that out.
And what's interesting is it's not like Rudy's out that much. I mean,
Right.
He played 37 minutes yesterday. He plays pretty heavy minutes.
Edwards playing Tibbs minutes, by the way. No one's talking about that. When Tibbs does it, it's like the world's got to end. Finchie does it, it's no big deal.
Was it Portland, though, where you could definitely tell he was playing Tibbs minutes? It became a conversation in the Wasp trip to Portland last week that he definitely did look worn down and did look worn tired. And his off-the-ball defense remains dreadful. Anthony.
Yeah, it's not what it's been.
I mean, if you want to watch some all 22 clips of
Not what it's been.
Guys are open and cutting and all that. Now he can obviously fix that, but that's part of the reason why they have looked so lost defensively is guys are just losing their own guy and things are too easy.
We'll come back with another Vikings talking point. Much more on the Wolves, I'm sure, with Johnny Athletic when he joins in the 5 o'clock hour. Lieber at about 4:47.
Time now for the Vikings Report on The Fan, presented by Miller Lite. Vikings safety Cam Bynum joins Barrero next after this from Miller Lite.
Let's try to squeeze in another Vikings talking point before we prepare for conversation with Ben Lieber. I call this my favorite Darnold play. I think it's a sneaky good one that's not getting enough attention.
3rd and 6 from the 15 for Minnesota. C.J. Ham to the left of Sam Darnold out of the shotgun. Sam steps up, spins away from a Titan as he heads out to the right, fires it. Caught Trent Sherfield Sr. Cold-blooded first down. 16-yard hook to Sherfield Sr. And the first quarter ends with a Minnesota Vikings first down.
You had to see it, and if you did see it, I think you were probably impressed with it or should have been. A good example, I think a prime example of Darnold mobility, right? Keeping a play alive. And what does the cliche tell us? You want a quarterback who's still going to give himself a chance to throw someplace else, even if it's not the first read. Not necessarily to run, but to get a completion. And that drive was going to die. We were going to have to punt. And I believe, was that our first scoring drive or a second one?
It was
Definitely a touchdown.
It straddled the first and second quarter. We ran like 15 plays after that.
That was the one that took forever.
Yep. The Addison penalty,
yes.
And then Darnold sneaking it.
To me, that was a really nifty example of what when he's doing it well, he's doing well as a more mobile than I thought he was. And in this case, still on the run, spinning out, and offering up a very accurate throw. It was not a difficult catch to make. It was you want to make the catch as easy as possible for the receiver, which I thought he did on that occasion. And as I said much earlier, if you're just joining the show, the one Vikings turnover was assigned to him because that's officially the way it works in the National Football League. I did not think that pitch was bad enough to where you can blame the QB. I thought that was Jones just not doing a good job of securing the ball. And we've all talked about his propensity to throw interceptions. In fact, on Sunday on the Sermon Show, we mentioned that if you look at, the league lead in interceptions going into the weekend, there were, I think, 3 or 4 quarterbacks at 10 leading the league. And one of them was Darnold, and another one was Jordan Love. And sure enough, Jordan Love, now he got saved. You can argue he did get a late drive. He did take the Packers on a late drive to go ahead. He ultimately then got bailed out as well by the Bears field goal kicker, who has maybe the lowest trajectory on long kicks as anybody in history, which is probably why you got to get more yardage, but that's for another day.
Yep.
But he threw a bad, it was either in the end zone or near the end zone pick towards the end of the first half that you could say largely turned the game, allowed the Bears to think they could be in this ball game. And Darnold did not throw a single. I don't think I missed a pick.
You didn't?
I don't even think he came close.
No, I thought he played really well yesterday.
Yeah. To that extent, he did. He made the right, if you want to say concessions, he made the right, judicious, smart concessions. But he still obviously got the ball downfield at times.
Yes.
He still was not afraid of letting it fly, so to speak, zinging it down. Ripping it, as Tom Brady likes to call it.
Ripping it.
But no significant mistakes, and just a great quarterback play on the play we're talking about. That's because it didn't get them a touchdown. Is not getting as much attention as it deserved because it kept the drive alive. That gave them a chance to score their first touchdown.
And good job on the other touchdown of scheming up something because Justin Jefferson's going to be covered.
Yes.
And could Jordan Addison be any more wide open? And then they picked up the blitz. I don't know if we played that talking point or not on Darnold, but they pick up the blitz beautifully. You throw it to Addison in stride, and because they were blitzing, there's just not a lot of guys out there. He's got free run to the end zone. That's everything that we talked about last week.
Bad angle on the
bad angle.
The whole thing was bad.
But that's what we talked about all last week. Don't put the ball in trouble. Don't force it to Justin Jefferson.
Well, especially against bad teams.
Yeah, you're supposed to have
Tennessee's. What are they 2-7 going into the game? They're not very good. It's like they're terrible. Don't give them a chance to feel like they can get back in it. Let's stay on schedule and get Nacho Lieber's reaction. He was in Nashville, Tennessee yesterday. We'll talk to him about not just the Vikings, but the entire condition of the National Football Conference and maybe the NFC North as well.